We have with us Adam Neumann, who is the founder and CEO of WeWork, which is one of the largest ecosystem for entrepreneurship across the world. He has met Prime Minister Narendra Modi and is joining in the Startup Stand Up India campaign. Thank you very much, Mr. Adam, for talking to us exclusively on Doordarshan News, which is the public broadcaster. First of all, you met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What did he share about entrepreneurship in India, and how are you looking at going forward?
The most amazing thing when I met Prime Minister Modi was, before even the words that came out, the energy. You sit in the room and you feel that you're next to someone who's delivering change. WeWork is about disruption. He embodies everything that we believe in. I also had the privilege of bringing my father with me, who actually lives in Israel. He's a doctor in Israel. We met in India and he attended with me the meeting with Modi, and Modi was so generous and nice to him also. So we really appreciate it. Specifically about entrepreneurs, Modi said that we need to help give them the courage to start their own businesses, and not just for the sake of raising money or making money, but actually to create jobs and to create meaningful jobs so they can have a great life, help their families, and help India go to the next level.
Adam, I believe that WeWork is an ecosystem for the entrepreneurs, and you yourself is a fantastic entrepreneur. How did you think of this idea? Is it the first idea?
So I'm Israeli. I was born in Israel, raised in Israel. I went to the Israeli army, served for 5 years. Going to the army taught me a lot of discipline, a lot of process, and I came to the US right after. This is actually my fifth idea. My first three failed, but I learned a lot from them. My fourth was okay, and this is my fifth now, where we have the beginning of success. But a lot of people confuse our valuation with success. That is not accurate. We measure success by how we affect people. How we a global ecosystem? Are we actually helping the entrepreneurs? Are they more successful? And do they define success as more than just financial? Because in our hearts, success is holistic. Are you healthy? Are you happy? Do you have an opportunity to give and to receive? And also, are you making money? That holistically is success in our book.
Perfect. We have also learned that Israel is a great place for entrepreneurship. Just tell us something about that, then I'll come to your journey in US and then come to India.
So Israel is a country, a young country like India, that actually does not have a lot of natural resources. One of the only, they say the Israelis, all they have is the brain. So when you're forced to succeed, and when you don't have a lot of choices, and when your back is to the ocean, then you create. Also, Israel is a good community. I said this earlier today, collaboration is the secret of innovation. Israel is very good at collaborating, so great ideas are coming. When Israelis build businesses, they don't build it for Israel, they build it for the world. So there's Israeli technology in almost every single thing that you touch and do today. Either it's software or hardware or a little patent that was created, but that's the Israeli. There's a great book called Startup Nation. It's actually translated, and you can learn a lot there.
Perfect. So why did you shift to US and what did you do? How did you start it in US, and what is the current status of your ecosystem at the WeWork?
So when I was a kid growing up in Israel, my parents were both doctors. We had a great life, but we were middle class. And I used to watch movies like a lot of kids all over the world. And you see America and you say, this sounds like a great place that I want to come to. My younger sister actually moved to Israel before me. And she would tell me how amazing it is in New York. When I finished the army, my mother said, go take a look how your sister is doing. I came to America 4 days after. I saw that America is amazing, but the American dream that I saw in the movies was actually not exactly there. And a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, helped recreate it a little bit again, because America was always based about entrepreneurship. Lost its way for a little bit, but it's back with a vengeance now.
If I can ask you, for a startup who is just thinking about a new idea, everybody has an idea and he thinks it is a fantastic idea, which can be, monetized, and he can build billions on that. Can you give us a thought process through which we can actually understand or say that this is going to, succeed in the future, and this is not going to?
I think it's an excellent question. Because we know that startups are very hard to succeed with, thinking that every startup you're going to have is going to be a billion-dollar idea is just not accurate. The numbers show differently. What's really important is the journey. How do you go on the right journey? First, you ask yourself about the business you're thinking. Do I truly love this business? Am I going to be passionate about it? What does passion mean? Passion means I'm going to be willing to sacrifice other things that I like in return for doing this business. If the answer is yes, second question. Is there intention behind my business that's positive and that will affect people's life in a good way? If the answer to both questions is yes, you're in the right direction and go for it. Because if you do what you love and you put intention together and those two come together, not only will your chances of success be higher, it's going to be easier to raise money, easier to hire employees, and easier to sell the product because you don't actually need to sell a product with intention. People will talk about it. That's the best advice I can give.
When it comes to India, how do you see the current ecosystem for the startups? Is it the right time and the direction is right?
I came here for the first time 4 days ago. So my opinion is still being generated. What I do know is that I came to learn and that everything that I'm starting to see is extremely positive. But the first thing I notice in India, that this is a nation that believes in more than just themselves. That is a great starting point. Because when you know that there's a bigger picture than just you, you can do things more than just the sake of making money, which I actually believe makes you more money. That's number one. Number two, India's startup story is not an if, but a when. There is no question that India's startup story will be successful. How long it takes has to do with a lot of different moves that both the Indian culture needs to make, that the government's going to help, and that companies like ourselves and other companies that are going to participate in this process can expedite it. So one of the things WeWork can do for India is help these startups be more successful faster by giving them these collaboration centers, by giving them tools to communicate that are simpler and connecting them to the global entrepreneurial world and business world. So now an Indian service provider with 3 employees can provide business to 100 companies in the US that all have 3 employees also. He's working while they're sleeping. They're working while he's sleeping. It's a beautiful relationship. He charges them what's fair price for him. For the American entrepreneur, it's actually a lower price than local. Everybody wins. We now have a global community. We're starting to change the world.
So have you started thinking about India?
Without a doubt, thinking about India. WeWork is a global business. We cannot be global. It's a joke to think you could be global without being in India. So WeWork in India is again not an if, but a when. Thank you to the Prime Minister and his team that invited us here and took the time and the effort to recognize us and to be thinking that we're someone that can help. Because of this invitation, we're definitely going to come to India faster than we planned, because now that we saw the energy, we cannot ignore it.
Adam, one of the greatest problem of Indian entrepreneurs is one of the capital and also the hand-holding, the mentorship, the incubation. That ecosystem is missing somewhere. We have started learning from the experiences from US, from Silicon Valley, and other countries. But when it comes to funding, how a company, how a startup, how an entrepreneurship can ready himself or herself to attract the global capital, because this is one thing which is really missing.
So first of all, I agree with you about India, and because it's still a young startup culture, there are not a lot of advisors. So first thing that an entrepreneur needs to do is find mentors. Find people who have done it before. I have met great entrepreneurs here in India. Sometimes a mentor does not need to mentor everything. You can talk to a 50-year-old salesperson who's going to teach you how to sell. And you can talk to a lawyer who's going to explain to you how to start the business, and an accountant. So you find your mentors. That's number one. Number two, instead of trying to build $1 billion business, try to build a business with positive EBITDA and then positive cash flow. The global economy respects positive cash flow. Everybody understands how big India can be. Prove your concept in 1 city, then in 3. Then say to the global world, we're ready to grow very large in India. Before you even think of growing to other countries, you have such a big country with such great demand. Maximize it here. And when you're ready, start looking abroad.
How right or wrong is to say that government is not working, the system is not working, I don't have a favorable taxation system to work for me, I don't have an ecosystem from the government side. Is it correct for entrepreneurs to crib about all these things, or is it fair?
So first of all, I do not know Indian politics well enough to comment, but I will comment this. The Prime Minister and his team invited us to come here before my own country, Israel, invited me to do the same discussion, which means there is a Prime Minister here that understands the needs, that is going to lead these people to be global leader in the world, both in business, in startup, and more importantly, what I felt from him, in culture and heart, showing that that is most important. How I treat you and how you treat me, how we communicate, that's what's going to make the difference. And that's what in the long run is going to make India win. So I believe entrepreneurs should focus on their business, do great things, focus on the basics, try to use the government when you can, but don't count on the government. Do what you need to do and allow the government the time that it needs to set up this culture that took in the United States and other countries tens of years. And you're trying to move, and you are moving very fast, but it does take time.
Adam, allow me also to talk about WeWork, and we just want to understand what is the current status of WeWork, in how many countries you are working, how the whole ecosystem is working that you have created, and is there a future plans for India?
So WeWork today is in 19 cities, 7 countries, 3 continents. We have 46,000 members. We will have north of 100,000 members by the end of this year. 51% of our members do business with each other. When you're a member of WeWork New York, you're also a member of Tel Aviv and Amsterdam and London and Los Angeles. You have potential partners, colleagues, friends, employers, employees. The answer is yes, WeWork will come to India. When it does, the moment you're in India and you're in WeWork in New Delhi or in Bangalore, you're immediately going to be a member of the ecosystem. You will get business, you will get local services, and you'll be part of our community. And our community is a global one, the same way millennials are global. Even though people might look different and speak different, in the heart, the young generation does understand that intention and meaning many times should come before material goods. And as WeWork enters India and small businesses grow in India, jobs will be created. And over time, creating jobs is the best way to move people out of poverty, grow a country, and help everybody have a fulfilling life. We like to say, WeWork wants to help you create your life's work, not just a living.
In India, Adam, people say that we don't understand technology in a better way than others do. We don't really understand how the market behaves. We don't really know the nature and the direction of the capital flows, where it is going. So there are so many noise. The people are not very aware of all the directions when it comes to startups and entrepreneurship. Can it be said that only technology helps you becoming an entrepreneur, or it might be anything else? Even if you're not tech savvy, you can be a successful entrepreneur.
So whoever thinks India doesn't understand technology has not noticed who the CEO of Google and the CEO of Microsoft is. And once you understand who those 2 CEOs are, look them up if you're not sure, then you will immediately know that India not only understands technology, understands operations, understands HR. You definitely do not need to understand technology to be an entrepreneur. You need the heart and you need the intention, but you should learn. Technology is something that everybody has access to. You can go today online and learn anything you want, if it's technology or if it's how to build a home. Before I finish, I will say one more thing about India. I participated today in Startup India. I sat and I saw a panel of ministers and secretaries discussing with 1,500 entrepreneurs problems. What I really saw for the first time in my life is true democracy in its full strength. Yes, people didn't agree, but whenever someone spoke, there was respect to the other person. I saw entrepreneurs getting upset at secretaries, but I saw secretaries listening and then answering. It was inspiring for me to see today's event. What the Prime Minister has launched here has not happened yet in the US. It's been unbelievable, and I think there's a lot that the world can learn from India, and I personally can't wait to see how amazing and beautiful India is going to grow.
Thank you very much, Adam, for being on Doordarshan News, and I appreciate your giving time to us, and we hope that the people and the young entrepreneurs will learn a lot from you. Thank you very much.
I will say one more thing that I learned this week. You do not have to be from India to love India. Thank you for such a warm welcome, India, and thank you and thank the Prime Minister and the team, and I can't wait for my next visit.
Thank you very much. All the best for the nurture.
Hello viewers, we have Falguni Nair from Nykaa.com. We all know Nykaa.com is the largest beauty-related e-commerce firm. We'll talk to Falguni Nair and then let us know what experiences she had, what her journey was and what is she thinking about the Startup India launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. Hello ma'am, thanks for giving your time. Could you please explain how exactly your journey started from the since you started, and what exactly are the challenges you faced in your journey so far?
After my business school from IIM Ahmedabad, for many years I worked in investment banking and stockbroking. But having seen entrepreneurs, somehow there was this itch to be an entrepreneur. And I told myself that if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So at a late age, of course, before on the right side of 50s, I decided to quit my job and start a company, Nykaa. I believe that there was a need for multi-brand retailer for beauty products in India, and that's what I started out wanting to do. And it's been such a fantastic journey. I've enjoyed every moment of it, and we've done a lot of innovative things, and consumers have really accepted us. So it's been a great journey.
And when we talk about startup, we've seen more and more startups coming in. I mean, the global startup ecosystem is pretty much competitive. And then even Prime Minister Narendra Modi is actually focusing upon the India becoming a startup ecosystem and all. We dream of making it a macro startup ecosystem in India. Are we on the right path?
Absolutely. And when I decided to quit my long job, like 20-year-old job, and decided to go into ecosystem of entrepreneurship and startups, I realized that today's youth are really ready to take risk, and they want to be master of their own destiny. They want to start new businesses, and they want to make them happen, and they're really passionate about that. They also want to work with startups because they think they learn a lot more there. So I think this whole ecosystem that is developing is fantastic for India, and our true strength and ability to build very unique solutions will come into play. And I think India will be a happier place going forward.
And when we talk about startups, many people have this myth. Should it be innovation? Should it be a new concept which was never before? Or should it be a system which was already there, but you're still working on it again, taking ideas from already established company? This sort of confusion, many youngsters are actually, reeling under pressure with this sort of confusion. What do you want to say about this?
No, I think, if you can think of a completely new concept, completely new innovation, that's always the most brilliant, because there's no competition. If there is something abroad and you want to just bring it to India, that's also good, because maybe India is behind the curve. But and if you want to do something because you feel you can do it better than what current people are doing, that's also good. But any startup entrepreneur needs to evaluate that their thought or their idea, can it stand competition?
Yes.
And can they go ahead of competition? Otherwise, there's no point doing startup for sake of startup.
Right.
To be that 100th food delivery company, there's no point,
Absolutely. And I'm talking about the making the business pretty much easier. Now, if people want to come to India and invest in India, or for the startups for the entrepreneurs who want to start up, they want some investors. If they just want some foreign investors to come and invest and then help them out. How do you look at this complete business system, right from the support from the government, getting some permissions and everything? Earlier it was pretty much complex, and now it is actually being simplified. What is your comment on that?
I think if government can clarify the rules and regulation that apply in every area, whether it's indirect taxes, whether it's direct taxes, how they look at capital gains when startup companies have capital gains, or how they look at it when the funding comes from internationally. If these rules are clarified and constantly improved upon with a view to facilitate the startup ecosystem, that is the best thing. So government has a big role to play to understand all the policies that affect the startup, and to see are there any of them, unobstructing is a word they use today. So if there are any obstructing policies, then let's change them. And startups are always disruptive, but they need the help of the government in terms of unshackling, the issues that startups face. Right. So I think with government also waking up to startup, and Shri Narendra Modi ji has really put in place this effort, as we can see it. So I think with that we will see startup ecosystem and startups flourish in India, and that I'm really excited about, because I have personally enjoyed the startup journey so much. I'm a very happy person having undertaken that journey. So I would urge not just young Indians, but even older Indians to take that leap and start a business of their own if they want to.
Right. And when you started, now e-commerce is something a happening thing. I mean, even in the future, we see that it is a big thing that is going to happen. E-commerce firms, because we've seen that is something at a macro level in the global level. But in India, it just picked up and is now picking up in a rapid way. How do you look at this thing, especially from the you're being into niche, it's like beauty related aspects. How are you looking at this space in the coming days?
See, in 2012, when I started this company, e-commerce was not that popular. There were only 40 million online shoppers, even as late as 2014. But that number is going to grow to 100 million by 2016. And women was only 8 million women online shopping. And now that's going to go to 40 million. So there's a whole revolution happening, and people like us have been part of that. And the Startup India initiative is also part of that, not just e-commerce, but also startups. So, wanting to do new things, wanting to bring new concepts into India is the way to go.
And when you talk about e-commerce, now let's talk about your journey. What are those critical challenges you faced, in your journey so far? Because the answer would be a solution for many people who want to be entrepreneurs in the future.
See, I think the critical challenges are there are a lot of naysayers. When I started the business, people said, oh, but beauty is not a big business in India. People in India don't use beauty products, or nobody will buy it online. They want to see the color on their hands. But I had a belief that, e-commerce is accepted so well in the US, it will be accepted in India. Secondly, I also did believe that the world is changing to a review-based world. People look at the review and then they buy rather than needing to experience it themselves. Like I do my hotel booking based on a review now rather than, knowing about it through any other source. So I think with all that conviction, we decided to embark and build something which most people believe that it won't work. But you have to have a conviction in yourself. And today we have been able to grow so rapidly into beauty retailing, and we are so well positioned that it makes me believe that when there is a will, there's a way. And we have created the market, we have created the market by offering consumer the right choice, the right products at their doorsteps.
And when we talk about, when you let's take the statement which people made that India is not a bigger market for the beauty-related items. Now, in such a scenario, if we look at it, it's a very complex system. We have metropolitan cities, we have then the tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, and the remote areas. How are you planning to reach to those remote areas? Because this is a space which is pretty much only there in the metro levels, but not in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
Yeah, so that is the biggest advantage we had. For example, the largest beauty retailer in India has not more than 130 stores. So they're not reaching out to these markets, whereas Nykaa services more than 20,000 zip codes. We today, along with India Post, deliver into so many zip codes that we are there in every remote nooks and corner. So whether it is Northeast or whether it is Andaman Nicobar, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, we have customers who are buying on Nykaa website. And that's the beauty of e-commerce, that customers are able to, buy all across India.
Right. And then talking about women entrepreneurship, because when we talk about Startup India and we talk about entrepreneurs, the number of women entrepreneurs in India, when compared to various other developed economies, is pretty much less. Now the number is picking up. What do you think are those challenges which women have been facing, and then what is that spaces that are changing actually in the coming days?
So I personally believe that there is really no glass ceiling for women. Women need to know that they must dream and they must want to aspire and commit themselves. And if they do that, then sky's the limit. So I feel that if women have conviction that they want to do something and they can do something and they give time and attention that it needs, they will get there. So, and today, of course, now government is also recognizing the role the women play, and they are ready to be supportive. So that's really good for women. They must take more, they should take more initiative, and they must want to dream and fulfill their dreams.
Right. And talking about e-commerce itself, now when we talk about e-commerce, it is something that has to do with the mobile commerce and then the computers. And once again, I want to say that India is a complex system, and we have, if we talk about the reaching out, the digital technology reaching out to the remote areas, it's filled with complexities and challenges. In such a scenario, there is a challenge of digital divide as well. How do you look at this space of this digital divide? Is it reducing, and what has to be done so that the e-commerce will even go to a higher levels?
Yeah. So I think our success is due to being digital. 25% of our employees are on the technical side, and we have 50% of our sales are on the app. So we've been able to give consumer a digital experience all across, like not just on desktop, but also on mobile and also on app. And to include more and more Indians, the next 300 million Indians who will come online, they're going to be maybe on 2G or poorer networks. They'll be with instruments and, and browsers that will be different. And what all of us are doing is to come up with solutions for them. So there'll be light site, there'll be site that you can, or app that you can access even when you don't have internet connection. So all of us in the industry are working towards those solutions for the customers.
Right, and when I talk about digital divide, it's time for us to talk about digital India as well. Now, government is pretty much focusing on this digital India, like mobile governance, e-governance they talk about, and also on the business side, they wanted this digital India to be vibrant enough across the country. You being in that sort of business, what exactly do you think has to be done by the government as well, so that the digital India will be a much more successful concept in the coming days?
No, I think a lot of enablers are coming into place. So I think the internet connectivity is a big area. Then availability of talent, and that we've always had. India has a lot more engineers than anywhere else in the world. We have been doing all the technical work for the world. And I think if some amount of right funding comes into place, which has happened through venture capital and early stage seed funding and stuff like that, then a lot of technology will come into play. Technology entrepreneurs are, they come up with innovation, and they're not very good at maybe the financial aspects. So they need to get the right resources, which I think government can help with. And then mentorship and, some amount of, and then if investors come in, then they also provide guidance on HR policies and many of those areas, legal policies. So then the e-commerce companies can flourish, or any startup can flourish.
Right. And then talking about the Startup India initiative, how far do you think will it be going, and how helpful will it be for the youngsters who want to be entrepreneurs in the coming days?
I've seen a lot of involvement and positive commitment from the government today. I just spoke to Nirmala ji, like you saw earlier, and they're really willing to listen in and get to know the startups and get to know what the issues are. So I think with this kind of attention from the government, it's going to be really, really a big thing in India. I'm really happy today to be here, and I'm really happy to see this initiative by the government, including Narendra Modi ji, and also Nirmala ji, as well as Amitabh Kant ji. Also, I heard all of them, and I think there is a clear will to support the startup ecosystem.
If someone has to be an entrepreneur, they should be skilled enough. I mean, not just an idea, but then they should be skilled enough, because they should have every idea on everything. I mean, such a scenario, when we compare ourselves with the foreign countries, with major economies like Korea, some other Japan, or some other countries, the skill level is pretty much higher than what we have. And even government is working on skill development. If we link that skill development to Startup India, how do you analyze this complete space? Now, what boost will our economic growth be getting?
So firstly, entrepreneurship is not easy. Just because someone doesn't get a job, they can't be an entrepreneur. So let's not go there. But I think at any skill level, an entrepreneur has certain way of looking at things and certain way of making things happen, which is important. And I think there is entrepreneurship at many skill levels, like a carpenter working in a large company versus trying to go on his own, or a website developer working for a large company to wanting to make an app on their own. So startup comes at many levels, and at every level the basic skill is required, and then that little bit of entrepreneurship is required, which is ability to see the path when it's not very clear, ability to not get dejected with one or two setbacks, and moving forward with that focus, purpose, and objective that you want to achieve something. I think that's the startup secret sauce, or an entrepreneurial secret sauce. So I think if people understand that yes, they are game for it and they are ready to do that, then it's a lot of fun.
Final two questions. How do you think the Startup India will be impacting the growth factor? Because we speak about Indian economic growth, a bright, shining spot when the global economy is fractured. How efficient will this be in our growth story?
I think both. I don't have the numbers all tied up, but I think I definitely feel that both bringing young startup culture into the Indian economy and bringing women power into the economy, both together can push up our growth rate definitely by 1 or 2 percentage points.
Right. And finally, we talk about youngsters. Prime Minister Narendra Modi talk about youngsters, young nation, and then we have the Startup India encouraging young entrepreneurs. What is your message to those youngsters who wants to be an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, not just a failure or something like that?
I feel this is new India. Udaan ke liye taiyar ho jao. It's really good. I mean, we saw that a lot of startup entrepreneurs who were standing outside on the sides of the hall were brought in the front and said, there are no reserved seats, please come and sit. So I think India is recognizing that there is the power of youth and there is a power of the startup and entrepreneurial energy, and India wants to tap it. And that's a phenomenal way to grow. We heard some other speakers inside talk about the power of collaboration, the power of passion, the power of wanting to do new things that consumers are not getting today. So a new way of thinking, trying to meet an unfulfilled need, trying to find a new path, trying to find a new technical solution. I think these are all very powerful things. And today what Narendra Modi ji has done and what Startup India has done is it's unleashed that mindset. And I think that's going to be very powerful, and we will see a lot of positive developments going forward.
Well, thank you very much, Falguni Nair ji. So that is Falguni Nair of Nykaa.com, who says the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has unleashed the power of the youngsters over India. So it's basically a better opportunity for the youngsters to come and be the entrepreneurs with this Startup India initiative and be a part of India's economic growth story.